Hi everyone, and welcome to The Sleepy Scientist. I'm really happy you're here. Tonight, we're going to go on a calm and quiet trip to learn something amazing. So get comfy, take a deep breath, and let's enjoy this peaceful science story together. Before we start, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from and what time is it for you right now? If you like relaxing science videos, don't forget to tap the like button. Now let's begin. In the beginning there is only darkness, soft and waiting like the breath held between moments. You are drifting there now, not falling, not rising, just suspended in a kind of gentle hush, as though the universe has paused just long enough for you to listen. This is the space before time moves, before clocks tick, before suns rise. And in this stillness, we begin to wonder, what does time mean when nothing yet has begun? Light, that delicate current racing through everything, seems to move with purpose. It slips across the skin of the cosmos at a speed so absolute, so unwavering that the rules bend gently around it. It travels at nearly 300,000 kilometers per second, as if it is hurrying towards something or perhaps fleeing from something else. But for light, there is no hurry, no wait, no sequence. It just is. From its point of view, if it can be said to have one, it crosses galaxies in no time at all. A photon that bursts from the heart of a star and lands in your eye has made a journey of unimaginable distance, yet to it, that journey took no time. Time did not pass. The clock did not turn. This is where things begin to shimmer with impossibility, because you, here on Earth, are bound to time. You wake with the sun and sleep when it sets. You age, slowly and inevitably, marked by birthdays and seasons and the stretch of memory. You count time with calendars, with the soft rhythm of footsteps, with the fading of old photographs. But light does not age. A beam of sunlight that left a dying star 1 billion years ago is the same today as it was then, bright, young, unchanged. That is because, as Einstein once quietly revealed, the faster you move through space, the slower you move through time, and light moves through space at the fastest speed anything can. So time for it simply vanishes. The faster something moves, the more time softens for it. Like a river that flows more slowly the farther upstream you go, time becomes shallow, quiet, nearly still. And at the speed of light, it becomes nothing at all. So now imagine you are that beam of light. Imagine shedding your weight, your skin, your thoughts. Imagine moving so fast that the past and the future blur together, like colours smudged on wet paper. There is no before, there is no after. There is only the now, forever, and only now. From the moment you leave a star to the moment you strike a leaf or a mirror or the surface of an eye, you have not waited. You have not travelled. You have arrived the moment you departed. Distance folds into a point. Time curls into a whisper. The universe flattens, not in size, but in sequence. The journey becomes the destination. This is what we think it might be like at the speed of light. But let's not race too fast. Let's stay in the gentle in-between. Let's sit with this question and let it unfurl like a fern in morning light. What is time truly, and why does it move the way it does? If you stand very still and watch the second hand of a clock, you'll see it jump forward in steady rhythm. But that rhythm, the tick-tick-tick, is not the same everywhere. Time bends, time warps, time is not rigid like rulers or heavy like stones. It is soft like breath on glass. When astronauts circle the Earth in the International Space Station, They experience time slightly slower than we do here on the ground. Their clocks tick just a little more gently. Their hearts beat just a little more slowly. And when particles are sent roaring through giant machines near the speed of light, they live longer than they should. Time, it seems, stretches for them, like a lullaby drawn out just a moment more. So if time is not fixed, what anchors it? The answer, softly whispered by physics, is motion. The way we move shapes the way we experience time. This is the heart of Einstein's theory of relativity. If you go fast, truly, unthinkably fast, then time begins to step more slowly for you. It lingers, it lets you slip ahead. But this isn't something we feel in daily life. Our cars, our planes, even our rockets do not move fast enough to make time bend in ways we notice. We are creatures of slow motion. We live in the realm where seconds behave. But even here, time is never absolute. It is sculpted by speed and shaped by gravity. Near massive planets, time runs a little slower. The closer you are to something heavy, like the Earth or the Sun, the more time hesitates. It's as if gravity holds time gently by the hand and whispers, "Wait." And so we begin to understand that time is not a background. It is not the stage upon which the universe dances. It is part of the dance. It is a partner, a fluid thing shaped by the steps we take and the space we move through. And at the speed of light, where space is devoured so quickly it becomes meaningless, time loses its form entirely. From our point of view, light takes time to reach us. The glow from distant galaxies travels across the black for millions, sometimes billions of years. But from the light's own perspective, it never journeyed at all. It was emitted, and it arrived in the same breath. That breath, to us, may be an eternity. To light, it is no time at all. This is the paradox, the puzzle that wraps around our understanding like ivy around a tree. Light, which lets us see time, shadows moving, colours changing, stars shifting, is also the very thing that lives outside of time. It defines the edge of our speed, the limit we cannot pass. Nothing with mass can reach the speed of light. We can approach it, inch toward it in great machines, in dreams of faster travel, but we can never catch it. Because to do so would mean to abandon time itself, to leave behind cause and effect, memory and future, breath and heartbeat. To travel at the speed of light would be to exist in a frozen moment stretched across the universe, unchanging and eternal. And perhaps that is why light feels sacred, why it feels like a messenger from the gods. It slips through the cosmos untouched by decay, by age, by the slow erosion that crumbles all things. It is both ancient and newborn. It is the same light that once bathed the early earth, that painted the first rainbows, that whispered through the windows of long-forgotten temples. And so tonight, as you lie beneath the hush of stars, you might think of the photons streaming down toward you. They left the sun 8 minutes ago. Some are older, from stars long dead. They have travelled across nothingness, not for you, not for purpose, but because that's what they do. And in doing so, they become bridges between now and then, between here and there, and as they touch your skin, or warm your face or glint in your eye, they bring with them a kind of stillness, a reminder that time, though it feels solid, is anything but, that the universe is not ticking but breathing, that light does not hurry, that perhaps at the deepest level time is not a thing that exists, but a way we describe the way we change. And light? Light does not change. It simply is, forever in motion, forever still. So close your eyes and imagine drifting toward that speed, that boundary, that final hush. Imagine what it would mean to no longer wait for tomorrow, to no longer remember yesterday, to simply be across all the universe at once, in stillness. That is where time ends. That is where light begins. Now let's drift deeper, where the edges of understanding blur like distant starlight on a cold night. Picture a single beam of light travelling across the emptiness of space, carrying no memory of where it has been, no anticipation of where it is going. It is pure presence, silent, swift, unblinking. And now imagine standing still on Earth, your feet pressed into the ground, your breath warm in the cool night air as you stare up into that infinite darkness. What separates you from that beam of light is not just distance or speed, but experience. You're soaked in time. Every cell in your body, every thought that rises and fades, every heartbeat and memory is made of time. But the light above you, though it touches everything, carries none of it. It knows no before or after, it never waits, it never becomes, it simply is. And in that difference lies something tender, something aching, as though the universe itself has a memory it can't quite hold on to. Physics tells us this with calm precision. Time dilation is not a theory now. It is measured, observed, held in numbers. When we move faster, time stretches. When we lie deeper in a gravity well, time slows. The faster you go, the less time you feel. The deeper you fall into gravity, the more time leans back. These are not tricks of perspective, they are woven into the fabric of reality. It is as if the universe is not built of one thread of time, but of many ribbons, each bending and warping in its own quiet rhythm. The idea that time is the same for everyone, everywhere, was once a comfort. But now, we know better. Now we understand that time is personal, relative, not in emotion but in physics, a truth deeper than belief. The satellites above you spinning in orbit must adjust their clocks to keep pace with ours on Earth, not because they are faulty, but because they experience time more quickly. The GPS that guides your phone, your car, your travels would mislead you completely if not for Einstein's equations, correcting for the way time moves differently just a few hundred miles above your head. But what happens when we push those ideas to the edge? What happens when we imagine something not moving very fast or very slow, but moving at the very limit of movement itself? At light speed, the laws of physics begin to shimmer, not because they break, but because they meet their boundaries. For a photon, distance vanishes, time folds flat, there is no aging, no delay. If a beam of light could think, it might not even know it had moved. It would be everywhere it ever touched, all at once in a single breathless instant. That instant, from our view, could be billions of years, but for the light, no time at all. And yet, here is where the mind strains. Because how can something travel across the universe and yet experience no journey? How can something move and never feel the motion? These questions are not mistakes. They are invitations to step outside the narrow corridor of human experience and glimpse for a moment the vastness of possibility. In that glimpse, something gentle stirs. Because while time stretches and bends for fast-moving things, it is never entirely gone, until you reach the speed of light. That speed is not just fast, it is sacred. It is the speed limit of the cosmos. Not because we haven't built machines powerful enough, but because the very structure of space-time says no further. Anything with mass, even the smallest particle, would need infinite energy to reach that speed. And infinity is not something the universe allows easily. It is like trying to fill a cup with an endless ocean. No matter how you try, the cup will break first. And so we remain, always just beneath that speed, always brushing against the possibility but never crossing into it. Only massless things, like light, get to live there, in that strange realm where time does not exist. And what a realm it must be, if we could pause and listen to a photon. What might it say? Perhaps it would tell you that all moments are the same, that the heat of a sun, the glow of a candle, the birth of a star, and the blink of your eyes are all happening together. That it does not remember, because it has nothing to forget. That it does not wait, because it has nowhere to be. That it is, in the truest sense, now, always now. This idea is not just poetic, it is written into our equations, carved into the strange mathematics of special relativity, and still it stirs something deep inside us, a kind of quiet awe. Because we are creatures born of time, our lives are stories, with beginnings and endings, chapters and scenes. We feel time in our bones, in the stiffness of joints, in the silver of hair, in the weight of longing. Time moves us, it changes us, and yet the thing that lights our world, that allows us to see, to feel warmth, to grow and flourish, knows none of it. It is hard to imagine. So try this. Picture a tiny speck of dust, drifting in a beam of sunlight. To your eyes, it shimmers, turns, dances. It floats slowly through the air, caught in the softness of afternoon. That beam it rests in, it left the sun 8 minutes ago, but from its own point of view it never travelled. It simply appeared, and in that appearance is the truth of light, instantaneous, ageless, without progression. Even the stars themselves, distant, glowing, ancient, are sending light across eons. Some of the stars you see tonight no longer exist. Their light, though, continues, like echoes from a voice that has already gone silent. And to that light, the collapse of its star was never felt. It was never waited for. The light left, and that was the whole story. Still, our minds ask, what would it mean to live like that? To experience all of existence in a single moment, to see every event not as a sequence but as a whole. Some physicists wonder if the universe itself is like that. A block, not a stream. A four-dimensional shape where past, present and future are all equally real. Where time does not flow, but sits stretched out like a vast canvas. And we, in our little corner, are just moving through that canvas. Our journey is a path through a frozen painting. The painting does not change. We simply discover more of it, one frame at a time. This block universe is not a fantasy. It is one way of interpreting the mathematics of relativity. It suggests that the future already exists, that the past is still there, that now is just where we happen to be looking. And light, then, becomes the brush that paints across that entire canvas at once. There is something soft and haunting about that thought, that every joy you've felt, every sorrow, every dream, already exists somewhere on that timeless canvas. That time is not a road you walk, but a landscape you uncover. That your life is not flowing like a river, but glowing like a constellation, fixed, beautiful, waiting to be seen. In that view, light becomes not just a traveller, but a witness to everything all at once, with no need to divide before from after, and you too are made of that light. The atoms in your body were forged in stars, carried by light, bound by forces that echo through time. You're not separate from the universe's rhythm, you're part of it. You're shaped by the same laws that shape galaxies, and though you live in time, you're born of things that do not know it. So the question deepens, not just does time exist at the speed of light, but what does it mean that we cannot join it? What is the lesson, the gift, in being creatures who move slowly, who age and grow and remember? Perhaps it is this, that while light touches all things instantly, it does not feel them. It does not wait for morning. It does not carry the warmth of a hand held for years. It does not know the quiet ache of memory or the sweetness of hope. Time gives us those things. Time lets us change. It lets us heal. It gives shape to our days, to our songs, to our lives. And maybe, just maybe, the stillness at the speed of light is not something to envy, but something to honour from a distance. A kind of sacred silence that lets us appreciate the music we live in. So let's stay here a while longer, suspended between motion and stillness. Let your thoughts stretch gently toward that boundary, that place where clocks forget to tick. Let the light above you remind you that you are both fleeting and infinite, that you are a story being told by time and a pattern held in starlight. And though you can never reach the speed of light, you carry its echoes in every heartbeat. You are not outside of this strange, shimmering truth. You are made of it. You are part of its poetry. Now let yourself fall gently into the final part of this slow voyage, not rushing toward answers, but gliding softly through wonder. We have asked whether time exists at the speed of light, and we've drifted near its shores, peered through its transparent veil. But now let's rest there on the edge of understanding and feel the stillness that lives in such questions. Time, to us, is a constant presence, a metronome in our thoughts, a tide in our lives. We follow it without choice. We are carried forward by it, just as rivers are pulled toward oceans. Yet light, which dances across our skin and fills our eyes with the colours of the world, feels none of it. At its speed, time collapses into nothing, into stillness, into a single unbroken now. This is more than physics. It is poetry hidden in equations, truth folded inside quiet impossibilities. From light's own frame of existence, a billion-year journey is instantaneous. It experiences no waiting, no unfolding, no moment giving way to another. And so we must wonder, if time disappears at that speed, what else fades with it? What becomes of story, of growth, of memory? It is here in the soft spaces between science and imagination that we begin to feel the loneliness of light. Not the loneliness of being alone, but the absence of becoming. Light never changes. It never ages. It cannot carry the weight of time, and in that, it also cannot hold transformation. There is beauty in light's stillness, yes, but there is also silence, the kind of silence that knows no before, no after, no difference between joy and sorrow, because both require time, both require something to come first and something to follow. But light, perfect and fast and free, has no direction but motion. It slips through all of time without touching any of it. And we, slow-moving creatures of matter, are bound to a different kind of beauty, the kind that grows, the kind that shifts, the kind that ends. We are shaped by time's hands. We are tender because we bruise. We are wise because we remember. We are hopeful because the future hasn't happened yet. What would it mean to step outside of that? To leave behind this rhythm of change, this slow painting of life upon the canvas of time. At the speed of light, a person would cease to experience, not just because time stops, but because the very structure of existence unravels. Length contracts. Mass becomes infinite. You would stretch across space like a thread of light with no beginning or end. You would not see or think or feel, and you would not be as we understand being. This is why the laws of nature hold us back, not out of cruelty, but protection. The speed of light is a limit not meant to be crossed, but approached, admired, honoured. It is a mirror that shows us what we are not, and in doing so shows us what we are. We are made for the long unfolding, for seasons and cycles, for stories that take time to tell. And so we walk gently through the world, gathering light as we go. Every morning the sun spills photons across the hills and rivers and rooftops, and though those photons have not aged, they illuminate things that have. They touch tree bark that has thickened over decades, and faces that have smiled 1,000 times, and water that has carved its path for centuries. Light allows us to see what time has made, and that is its gift. Though it cannot know time, it reveals its presence. It lets us witness change, growth, decay, and beauty. It lets us paint the world with memory, and maybe that is enough. Maybe light does not need to carry time itself, because it already carries everything. Time has shaped. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the oldest light in the universe. The cosmic microwave background, faint and distant, stretched thin by billions of years. It began as something fierce and hot in the first moments after the Big Bang, and now it whispers across the universe as a gentle echo. That light has been travelling for over 13 billion years, but to itself, it left and arrived in the same moment. It has seen everything, and yet it has never waited. It touches us now, quietly, gently, like a memory that never needed to form. And that too is part of the stillness. In light there is no struggle, no urgency, only presence. It reminds us that not all movement is a journey, and not all journeys take time. Some things simply are. And yet you might feel a little ache in this realization, a kind of longing for the passage of time that gives life its depth. Because what is a life without time? What is love without memory? What is meaning without change? These are things we hold dear, and they require the slowness, the unfolding, the passage from one state to another. A flower does not bloom instantly, nor does it remain unchanged. It opens because time allows it. It fades because time insists. We age because we must, and though we fear that aging, it is also what lets us become who we are. In a world without time, there would be no laughter, no sorrow, no lessons. There would only be being. And though being is sacred, it is in becoming that we find ourselves. So maybe time is not something we suffer through, but something we're blessed to experience. Maybe the soft erosion of moments is not loss, but the way the universe sculpts meaning. And maybe light, with all its power and purity, is beautiful because it shows us what we are not, so we can appreciate what we are. We are not fixed, we are not frozen, we are not instant. We change, we dream, we forget and remember, we stumble and learn, we fall in love slowly, we heal gradually, we live in the shape of time, and time in turn lives in us. Even as we gaze into starlight that has not aged, we carry its glow forward, altered, interpreted, woven into our stories. As you walk through the world, notice how time touches everything. The way shadows stretch in late afternoon, the way a child's voice deepens over years, the way your own reflection shifts from season to season. These are not flaws, these are not failures, they are the music of time and we are its instruments. Light plays upon us, but time writes the melody, and the dance between them, between instant and unfolding, is what gives our universe its richness. There is a kind of love in this dance, quiet and steady. Light brings us vision, but time brings us meaning. Without time, there would be no growth, no art, no forgiveness. There would be no stories. And so, as we close this slow, spiraling thought, we return to the question, does time exist at the speed of light? And the answer, softly spoken, is no, not in the way we know it, not in the way we feel it, but that absence is not empty. It is full of wonder, of contrast, of reflection. Light does not need time, but we do. And in needing it, we're given something precious. We are given the chance to change, to try, to remember, to hope, to move through a universe that is never still, even when it feels quiet. The stars above you tonight may shine with ancient light, untouched by time, but you, standing beneath them, are full of it. You are time's expression, its unfolding poem, and though you will never move at light speed, you carry within you something just as sacred, the ability to feel a moment as it passes, to let it leave its trace, to let it become part of your story. That is your gift, that is your speed, not infinite, not still, but just slow enough to hold meaning in your hands. And so we thank the light for showing us what it means to be beyond time, so that we may fall in love over and over with the way we live within it. There are places in the universe where clocks forget to tick, places so strange, so softly warped by gravity, that time begins to falter, hesitate, and even come to a pause, not broken, not lost, just slowed beyond recognition. Imagine wandering into a forest where the air is heavy and the ground quiets your footsteps, where every leaf seems frozen mid-fall, suspended in some delicate sacred pause. Now imagine this not in a forest but in space, somewhere near a black hole, somewhere so heavy, so dense, that even time must bow. This is not fiction, this is not metaphor, this is the gentle truth of our universe. There are regions in space where time passes more slowly than it does for you, and the closer you get to the center of a black hole, the event horizon, the more time stretches, until at the very edge it nearly stops. For someone falling in, seconds pass, but to someone watching from far away, that same fall might take eternity. This is one of nature's strangest gifts, a reminder that time is not absolute. It can be twisted, pulled, folded like warm cloth, and in some places it forgets how to move all together. So let us drift there now, not in a spaceship, not in speed, but in thought. Let us sink toward a black hole, slowly, softly, without fear. A black hole is not a hole at all. It is a collapsed star, a place where gravity has grown so strong that nothing, not even light, can escape. But before the darkness, Before the point of no return there is a veil. We call it the event horizon. It is a boundary, not of matter, but of possibility. Cross it and time begins to behave differently. Cross it and the rules unravel like mist. But stay just outside it and you can watch time stretch like taffy. If you placed a clock just above the event horizon and checked it from a safe distance, you'd see it slowing down, tick, tick, tick. Eventually, if you watched long enough, it would seem to freeze entirely, not because it had stopped, but because time had stretched so wide its seconds had become nearly infinite from your point of view. This bending of time near massive objects is called gravitational time dilation. It was predicted by Einstein, and it has been proven by satellites, by clocks, by light itself. Time runs more slowly in strong gravity. This means that deep beneath mountains, time is slightly slower than at the peaks, that your head experiences time faster than your feet. The difference is tiny, fractions of seconds, but it is real. And near a black hole it becomes more than a curiosity, it becomes a mirror that shows us how fragile and malleable time really is. And so we begin to wonder, what would it feel like to live where clocks forget to tick? What would it mean to be suspended at the edge of a black hole in that strange, timeless dusk? Some physicists imagine that if you could hover just above the event horizon, time for you would slow to a crawl. From your point of view, the rest of the universe would speed up, stars would spin faster, galaxies would swirl and fade, civilizations would rise and fall in moments, and yet you would remain barely aged, barely moved. This is not science fiction. This is the real, measured behavior of time, and it asks us to rethink what it means to experience anything at all. Because if time can move at different rates for different people, then whose now is truly now? Is it the person far from gravity, whose seconds come quickly and freely? Or the one near the black hole, whose seconds stretch so wide they almost forget how to be? Time, then, is not a universal rhythm. It is a dance choreographed by mass and motion. And black holes are the ultimate dancers, the ones that draw everything in, bending space, bending light, bending time. They are not monsters, they are not voids, they are extreme expressions of gravity. And gravity, like time, is not just a force, it is the shape of the stage itself. It curves the path of falling apples and curving planets alike. It sculpts orbits, stretches light, slows clocks, and at its most intense, it reshapes the very texture of time. In that reshaping, we glimpse something poetic. We realize that time is not something poured evenly over all things. It is a river with eddies and whirlpools, with slow shallows and deep rushing bends. And black holes are the places where the river stills. But what does it mean for something to stop in time? If you were to watch a person falling into a black hole, you would never see them cross the event horizon. They would appear to freeze at the edge, slowly dimming, fading away. Their last moment stretched into forever. This is because the light they emit, their final photons, are climbing out of an ever-deepening well. It takes more and more effort. They lose energy. They redshift. And to you, they seem to pause. But for them, from their point of view, they fall freely, quickly, in finite time. Two truths held at once, two timelines, both valid. This is the strangeness we must accept. In the universe, there is no single clock that all must follow. Time is shaped by where you are and how you move. It is personal, it is local, it is yours. So perhaps we can find comfort in this rather than fear. Perhaps there is something beautiful in the idea that time can pause, that there are places in the cosmos where eternity can fit into a breath, that moments can last forever if you are in the right place. We may never touch the edge of a black hole, but we can imagine it. We can sit quietly and wonder, and that wonder connects us to the universe in ways equations never could. We are made of atoms born in stars, held together by gravity, and moved forward by time, and yet time itself is not a constant. It is something we ride, like a current, something that can rush or slow, deepen or quiet, something that in the most intense places might even forget to flow at all. And so we return to that first image, a forest where leaves do not fall, where sound hangs in the air, where time has taken a breath and not yet exhaled. That is what the edge of a black hole might feel like. That is what it means for a clock to forget to tick. It is not the end of time, but the beginning of a new kind of stillness. A stillness so vast, so gentle, that it bends reality itself. And maybe, as you lie beneath the sky tonight, watching the stars spin slowly above, you'll feel a little closer to that stillness. Not in fear, but in peace. Because the same laws that let time stretch and slow near a black hole are the ones that allow you to age, to grow, to remember. You're not separate from that strange stillness. You're part of it. You carry its echo in your cells, in the way your thoughts pause before they form, in the way you hold on to a memory just a little longer. You're not moving through time, you're shaping it just by being alive. Let that thought settle like dust in sunlight. Let it slow your breath. Let it soften your step. Somewhere out there in a darkness deeper than any night, clocks have forgotten how to tick. And here you are, still moving, still becoming, still held by time's gentle hands. And that in itself is a kind of miracle. Let's slip more deeply into the gravity of this idea, into the invisible arms of the universe's most silent clocks. Where time slows, something else stirs, a kind of mystery that does not need answers, only quiet attention. Imagine again a black hole, but not as a threat or a monster, not as something that devours, but as something that holds. A cradle of gravity, deep and dense, pulling time so gently that even light hesitates. There, time is not a straight path but a stretched thread, thinning out, reaching towards something we cannot see. And what's so beautiful, so profoundly gentle, is that the physics we know and trust does not fail there. It simply stretches with us. The deeper the gravity, the slower the clock. The stronger the pull, the more gently time moves forward. This isn't just theory. It's measured in the slowing of atomic clocks flown on planes, in the gentle time slip experienced by GPS satellites. And from these small experiments, we leap to the grandest stages, the edge of stars, the hearts of galaxies, and the quiet boundaries where clocks fall silent. A black hole begins when a massive star dies. Its core collapses under its own weight, crushing atoms until they are no longer atoms, just pressure and gravity and stillness. There is no explosion, only the inward fall, like a whisper curling into itself. The result is not a whole, but a point, a singularity, where our math falters and our minds grow quiet. Around that point, space folds in like a slow breath, and the event horizon forms, the distance from which nothing can return. But the moment just outside that boundary is the place where time's melody slows into a long, drawn-out note. If you were to hover there, just beyond the edge, your seconds would stretch into hours for someone far away. You would feel nothing unusual. Your heart would beat. Your thoughts would rise and fall. But the universe beyond would move faster and faster. People would age. Cities would grow. Stars would bloom and fade. And you would drift, gently unchanged, wrapped in time's deep hush. This kind of slow time isn't a dream. It is a property of the universe itself. Gravity bends not just the path of planets and light, but of time. And that means time is not fixed, not rigid. It bends with space. It flows along curves. It can ripple, pause, stretch. And black holes are the deepest curves we know. They are not accidents of nature. They are expected, predicted, quietly waiting in the equations. We have seen their shadows in the way stars dance around nothing. We have captured their outlines in the glow of bent light. We have heard their voices in the trembling of space-time, in the gravitational waves that pass through us from far-off collisions. These are not just ideas, they are evidence. Proof that the universe moves to rhythms we are only beginning to hear. And so the stillness where clocks forget to tick becomes something more than strange, it becomes sacred. A reminder that time is not absolute, but shaped. A story written differently in every corner of the cosmos. If you were to fall into a black hole, your last moment would be stretched endlessly from an outside view. You would never be seen to cross the horizon. You would become a frozen image, held at the edge, like a final word, never spoken. But from your own perspective, you would continue. You would fall, quickly, silently, without pain. What lies at the end of that fall is unknown. Some believe the laws of physics dissolve there. Others think new laws emerge. Some imagine tunnels to other universes, or the birthplaces of new stars. But all agree, at the singularity, time ends. Not in fire, not in noise, but in stillness. A place beyond becoming, beyond experience, beyond the reach of clocks. And yet, black holes are not just destinations, they are forces that shape the universe. At the centre of almost every galaxy, including our own, there is a supermassive black hole. It holds millions, sometimes billions of suns worth of mass, all compressed into a space no larger than a star. These are not destroyers, but sculptors. Their gravity pulls stars into spirals, drives jets of energy across light years, carves the very shape of galaxies. They do this not through violence, but through presence, through stillness, through the deep, quiet shaping of space and time. They are ancient. They have watched the universe age, and in their stillness, they remind us that time is not a clock. It is a relationship, a connection between place, motion, and gravity. It is something felt, not owned, something lived, not measured. So what does that mean for us, living far from such extremes? It means that our experience of time is one thread in a vast tapestry. It means that even here on Earth, time flows slightly differently from place to place, height to height. You're already living in a world of stretched time. You always have been. The difference is small, yes, but it is real. Your feet, closer to the centre of Earth's gravity, age more slowly than your head. Your phone's GPS only works because satellites account for the bending of time, and these small adjustments speak to something vast. That time is not a background. It is part of the universe's shape, and we live within that shape, We bend it as we move, as we think, as we age. Now picture a spacecraft orbiting near a black hole, not falling in, just circling near the edge. Inside, astronauts might spend just a few hours, but outside, far away, days or years could pass. They return home to find the world changed, their children grown, their city different. This is not imagination. It is a gentle consequence of the math. Movies have played with the idea, turning it into story and sorrow. But underneath the fiction lies a real, soft truth, that time is a gift we do not all receive in equal measure, that where we are and how we move shapes how we live, and that thought that the universe grants each of us our own time feels almost like grace, because it means our moments are truly ours. No one else's now is quite like yours. And so every breath you take is part of your own rhythm. Every heartbeat, every memory, every dream unfolds on your thread of time, curved ever so slightly by the place you call home. You're not pulled toward a black hole. You're not stretched thin. But even so, the laws that let such things happen still shape you. You're part of the same fabric, the same dance, the same soft, bending cosmos. And perhaps, when you feel time slow, when a moment stretches or a silence deepens, you're feeling a whisper of that deeper truth. That time is not made of numbers, it is made of curves, of relationships, of presence. So the next time you look at a clock, remember that it is a guide, not a ruler. It tells you what time is for someone standing still on Earth, far from extremes. But the real clock, the one written into the universe, is much stranger, much softer. It ticks differently in every corner, every orbit, every depth. It forgets how to tick near black holes. It speeds up near stars. It stretches across space like light across water. And you, just by being here, are part of that strange shifting rhythm. In the places where clocks forget to tick, time is not lost. It is transformed. It becomes silence. It becomes space. It becomes the breath between moments, stretched so wide it becomes still. And in that stillness we find not fear but wonder. A quiet knowing that even time, the thing we hold most dear, the thing that defines us, can change, can pause, can become something else entirely. And that truth, gentle and strange, makes every moment more precious. Because it reminds us that time is not guaranteed. It is shaped. It is given. It is rare. Let yourself feel that rarity now. Let yourself hold this second a little longer. Let your breath move slowly. Somewhere in the dark, time has slowed to a stop, and here in the light, it moves just fast enough to let you live. Now let us come gently to the closing drift of this thought, the soft unravelling of a journey into places where time no longer knows how to move. We have floated through the warping of seconds near black holes, touched the slow breath of clocks that lose their rhythm under gravity's pull, and found ourselves suspended on the edge of understanding, looking in. But here, in the final quiet of this story, we must ask not only what it means for time to forget to tick, but what it means for us to remember. We are creatures born from movement, shaped by the beginnings and endings, from the rhythmic beat of the womb to the final silence of our last breath. Our hearts pulse in time, our stories unfold in order. Yet the universe has never promised us a single clock. It has only offered us the mystery of many times, braided, curved, local, and fleeting. So in the shadow of the stillest things, of stars that collapsed and vanished into gravity's deep cradle, we begin to understand that time itself is not what we thought. It is not a thread to be followed, but a shape to be touched, to be wondered at. It is a field we move through, one we can bend, stretch, slow, never master, only feel. Consider this. The further you move from Earth's surface, the faster time flows. Not metaphorically, not in feeling, but in fact. Your wristwatch on a mountaintop runs ahead of the same one left at sea level. The difference is small, but it is enough to shape precision machines, to guide satellites, to keep aircraft from drifting off course. We are living within a structure more flexible than our eyes can see. Time flows around hills, through valleys, up skyscrapers and across oceans. It curves with gravity. It adjusts itself, gently, like fabric sliding over the form of the world. And while our lives feel straight, a line from morning to night, from birth to aging to end, the truth is more layered. If clocks run at different paces in different places, then so do we. The time you experience in a single day is not quite the same as the time your neighbour feels. Not because your routines differ, but because time itself bends around you, shaped by mass, by motion, by gravity's invisible hand. This is the quiet wonder the universe gives us, that even in stillness, time is alive. And what then do we make of memory in such a world? If time is not absolute, then is memory our attempt to anchor ourselves in the shifting tide? Perhaps that is why we hold on to the past so tightly, because we know deep down that the present is not fixed, that it moves differently for each of us. That time as it ticks on your wrist is not the same time ticking for a bird in the sky, or for a probe circling Saturn, or for light escaping a dying sun. And in this vast orchestra, memory is our thread, our way of saying this happened, and I was here, and it mattered. And in the places where time bends, so too might memory stretch. Perhaps near a black hole? Not only does time slow, but stories unravel more slowly too. Perhaps to fall into that gravity is to fall into a dream that never ends, a moment frozen, suspended forever just before the next word is spoken. But you are here, on Earth, moving gently through a planet that spins and turns, caught in the arms of a star that bends time only a little, softly, like a parent pulling a blanket over a sleeping child. You will never reach a black hole, but the physics that govern them governs you. The curvature of time at the edge of an event horizon is the same principle that bends the light of the sun as it grazes Mercury. It is the same logic that lets you age slowly in deep gravity. The same rules that whisper through satellites and clocks and rays of starlight also hum inside your body. Your blood flows forward in time. Your breath expands into the next second. You walk through a landscape sculpted not just by matter, but by time's flowing shape. And every so often, when time feels slow, when a quiet moment stretches long and deep, you are feeling that curve, that softness, that gentle hold. You are brushing faintly against the stillness where clocks forget to tick. And perhaps there is something to learn from that stillness, not to fear it or to flee it, but to welcome it. For what is life without pause? What is presence without the ability to stretch a second into a memory? We chase time, trying to fill it, to count it, to own it, but it is not ours to keep. It is only ours to feel. And in the spaces where time slows, on mountain tops, in starlit fields, in the hush of a deep breath, we find ourselves closer to the truth. We are not riding on time like passengers on a train. We are shaping it. Each choice, each thought, each heartbeat is a ripple in the field. We bend time even as we are carried by it, not in grand cosmic ways, but in the gentle truth that a moment felt fully can stretch longer than an hour wasted. That love, felt deeply, can ripple forward across days. That grief too can slow us, anchor us, bend the rhythm of our thoughts. These are the small black holes of emotion, places where time softens, stretches, forgets to move. And when we speak of forgetting, perhaps we misunderstand. Perhaps the clock at the edge of a black hole does not forget to tick. It simply finds no need to. It has reached a place where forward means nothing, where the horizon of time has curved back into itself. And we, on the other side of that mystery, are left to imagine, to wonder what it might mean to reach the edge of time's fabric and stand there, not falling, not aging, not waiting, just existing in a moment without duration. This is not death. It is not end. It is pause, a kind of sacred holding. And maybe that is the gift of the black hole, not its darkness, not its hunger, but its reminder that the universe holds space for stillness, that even among all the stars and motion and noise, there is a place where time rests. And so, as you sit now in your own gravity, in your own local time, remember this: you are part of that great architecture. Your seconds are shaped by ancient equations. Your heartbeat echoes with cosmic logic. The slowing of time near massive stars is not a story for other places. It is part of your story too. It lives in your devices, in your dreams, in the strange stillness between one breath and the next. And the fact that clocks can forget to tick means something hopeful. It means time is not fixed. It can be stretched. And if time can stretch, so can we. We can hold a little longer. We can wait a little deeper. We can forgive across years, love across distances, remember across lifetimes. Because we are not bound by a single ticking beat. We are fluid. We are curved. We are held in the shape of time. So when you next look at a watch, remember the clocks that do not tick. The ones lost in space, circling in slow spirals near stars long gone. Remember the time that moves faster in the sky than in your bones. Remember the moments that stretched, the hours that flew, the days that vanished like light into dark. And remember that these are not failures. They are features. They are the music of the universe, and you are dancing in its rhythm. Even if you never reach a black hole, you have already touched its story. You have lived in the same laws, you have breathed the same curved time, and in that quiet knowing, in that final hush, you carry the stillness with you. Clocks forget to tick in places you will never stand, but your heart knows how to listen, and so let it. Let time move gently, let it slow where it must, let it pause in memory, stretch in longing, breathe in stillness. You're not just watching time, you're shaping it. With each moment you feel, you write yourself into the curve. Imagine someone stepping into a spacecraft, not just to escape gravity, but to escape time itself. Picture them sitting quietly in their seat, listening to the low hum of machines that speak in currents and pulses, their eyes reflecting the deep black beyond the glass. Outside, the stars do not twinkle. They shine steadily as if waiting. The engines engage, and slowly the ship begins to move. Faster, faster still, until speed becomes silence and silence becomes a kind of stillness, even as motion increases. This is not just a journey through space, it is a journey through time, because as velocity climbs, time begins to shift, not just in theory, but in reality. The clocks inside the ship tick slower than those left behind. The traveller feels nothing strange. Their pulse stays steady, their breath remains unchanged. But outside the ship, entire days begin to pass in the time it takes them to speak a sentence. Weeks, months, years. The faster they move, the slower their time becomes. And so begins the quiet paradox. To move quickly is to feel less of time. To chase the future is to remain behind in it. This is the thought experiment made famous by physicists, often called the twin paradox, though there is no contradiction, only beauty. One twin stays home, living a quiet life, measuring time in the turning of seasons, the deepening of laughter lines, the passing of birthdays and books read by warm windows. The other climbs into a vessel of motion, a sleek thread of speed launched into the stars. And when at last the traveller returns, something gentle and impossible has occurred. The one who stayed has aged more, the one who moved fast has aged less. A year for one might be 5 for the other, 10, more, and though both lived full days and full nights, the clocks do not agree. Because time has not been shared equally. It never was. It never can be when motion enters the dance. And the reason, softly folded inside Einstein's mind, is relativity. The speed of light is constant, unchanging. But if light remains steady, then space and time must adjust. They bend to keep the universe consistent. When you move faster, space shortens. Time slows, and as you approach the speed of light, time flattens until it nearly stops. This is not science fiction, it is tested. It is measured in muons, raining from the upper atmosphere, particles that should decay quickly but live longer because they travel fast. It is etched into the path of every satellite, calculated into every deep space probe, and in the minds of those who stare upward and dream of travel, not just distance but time. So imagine again our traveller, alone among the stars, wrapped in metal and electricity, moving through the quiet dark. The earth fades behind, a pale dot suspended in memory. Their thoughts wander to the people they've left, the moments they've postponed. But time feels normal to them. The minutes pass as minutes always have. Meals are eaten, books are read, music plays, but outside the universe rushes forward. Cities shift, languages evolve, friends grow older, and new generations begin to dream. The traveller does not feel faster, but the world does. They're becoming unstuck, not from space, but from the flow of time itself. And in this dissonance, something poetic stirs. The traveller has not escaped aging, not really. They've only sidestepped the rhythm we all share. Like a leaf caught in a gentle current, they drift at a pace that the river below cannot match. And when they finally return, if they return, they will find a world that has moved on without them. Their memories will feel recent, their stories unfinished. But for others, those stories have become distant, softened by time. It is not sadness, this gap. It is not loss. It is simply the truth of moving fast. Time is not a constant. It is a companion that steps differently depending on your path. And perhaps that is the quiet price of speed. Not energy or distance, but disconnection. The faster you go, the farther you are not just in space but in experience. You begin to live in a pocket of time that others do not share. And yet, isn't that what we all do in smaller ways? The artist lost in their painting, unaware of the sunset, the child dreaming on a bus while the city outside rushes by, the night owl writing at 3 a.m. while the world sleeps. We all travel through time differently, in ways that have nothing to do with speed. Sometimes a single hour can feel like a day, sometimes a week passes without a mark. Our experience of time is already relative. The traveller merely shows us this truth writ large. And so, time travel, real-time travel, is not the spinning of dials or the flash of blue light. It is motion. Pure, simple, relentless ocean. The faster you move, the more you peel away from shared time, the more you carve your own slow arc through the future. And yet, there is a kind of grace in knowing that this is possible. That if we chose to build ships strong enough, engines powerful enough, we could step into tomorrow by leaving today behind. That we could pause our own clocks, not by magic, but by physics. And in doing so, we might begin to see time not as something to fight, but as something to explore. Not as an enemy, but as a dimension with curves and valleys and horizons waiting to be touched. But there is also something tender in remaining slow, in choosing to stay grounded, because while the traveller outruns time, they also outrun the warmth of shared experience. They miss the unfolding of lives, the slow miracles of gardens growing, of voices changing, of relationships deepening. They miss the ordinary sacred tick of everyday time. And perhaps that too is a kind of truth. That speed brings distance, but slowness brings depth. That to live within time fully and vulnerably is its own kind of courage. Still, the dream remains, the dream of motion so fast that years pass in a blink, the dream of journeys to distant stars where time has flowed differently, the dream of seeing the universe unfold ahead of schedule, of stepping out into the future with eyes still young. And these dreams are not foolish. They are questions, whispered in equations and in the silence between stars. They are reminders that time is not fixed, that with enough speed, enough intent, enough patience, we can bend it gently, like heat on glass. So the traveller continues silent and steady, wrapped in a shell of light and hope. Behind them, earth spins on. Ahead, time stretches thin, and in between, in that narrow thread of slowed existence, they carry something precious. Not just the science of relativity, but the poetry of separation, the knowledge that to move quickly is to live slowly, that to chase time is to hold it more gently, and that in the end, we are all travellers, some fast, some slow, moving through the great quiet ocean of time, one moment at a time, one heartbeat behind the next. Let's drift deeper now into the still current trailing behind our traveller, the one who has moved fast enough to slip through time's fingers like mist. Imagine what it feels like to live in slowed time, not metaphorically but physically, mathematically, cellularly. Every breath you take unfolds across hours elsewhere. A single day for you becomes a month for those you left behind. You are still aging, still feeling, still thinking, but at a pace so delicately slow compared to the rest that the universe begins to stretch away from you. From inside your ship, the world outside seems to run faster, not in blur, not in motion, but in change. You witness seasons flicker like candlelight, hear voices rise and vanish in one long echo. The stars outside remain steady, but history plays out in flickering frames. Civilizations evolve, and you are a soft constant in a sea of change. You become a witness not to space, but to time itself in bloom. You're not a visitor in the future. You're a still point through which the future rushes. And still, time feels ordinary inside. Your heart beats at its rhythm. You prepare food, read books, write notes, sip tea. The world inside your ship obeys the time your body understands. It is the outside that rushes, not you. This quiet paradox is what makes time dilation so gentle, so disarming. The traveller does not feel the difference. There is no pain, no shock, only a widening gap that accumulates like snowfall. You leave a brother behind, and when you return, he is older than your father once was. You say goodbye to a daughter, and she greets you again as a grandmother. And yet you, held in your moving shell, have felt only days. That gap is not just physics, it is ache. Not sorrow, not regret, just the strangeness of living slightly out of sync with everything you love. And that too is a kind of loneliness, this temporal isolation. You have not gone far in space, but you have gone far in time, and in that distance lies the quiet cost of curiosity. To explore the rules of motion is to step away from shared clocks, shared seasons, shared days. It is not punishment, it is not cruelty, it is simply the price of knowing. Time, once thought to be a river that carried us all equally, is revealed to be more like weather, changing from place to place, from speed to speed. Some places rain, others shine. Some people age in decades, others in days. It is humbling and beautiful and strange. This slowing of time is not just about great ships and cosmic speeds. It lives in particle beams, in orbiting satellites, in the tiny decay of muons moving near light speed. It lives in every calculation that corrects GPS, in every space station experiment. The universe is already telling us that time is not absolute. It is personal, it is curved. It bends to motion, and motion in return shapes memory. A twin who travels may return younger, not just in years, but in stories not yet lived. And though they share blood, they no longer share a clock. They are now from different timelines, two versions of a shared beginning who drifted away under different skies. And so we return to the traveller, our silent witness, moving faster than any heart should bear, yet calm, yet steady, yet untouched by the swirl of time that rushes outside the window. Imagine their gaze, how it lingers longer on everything, how they savour sun, how they must relearn slowness upon return. For what is time but the pace at which we pay attention? The traveller's days are long, not because of their length, but because of their clarity. They are steeped in presence. They hold each moment fully, deeply, because they know that outside things are changing too fast to follow. And so they go inward, living not for events, but for awareness. Not for destination, but for observation. And maybe this is what motion teaches, that the faster we go, the more we must learn to sit still within ourselves. Some wonder what would happen if we could send humans close to the speed of light. Could they travel forward in time? Could they leave and return to a future untouched by war, by worry, by suffering? Could we use time dilation to escape the present, to skip ahead to a better tomorrow? The answer, softly, is yes. In theory, a traveller moving fast enough could leap forward in time. They could board a ship, travel for what feels like a year, and return to find a century past. But there is no going back. Time travel in this sense is not a two-way bridge, it is a one-way drift. The traveller cannot undo the time that passed for others. They can only witness its result. And yet this too has beauty. To move into the future is to become a kind of time capsule, a living relic from the past, carrying thoughts, hopes, ideas untouched by the world's passing. A traveller becomes a messenger, not of speed, but of memory. They bring with them the smell of an earlier earth, the sound of forgotten music, the weight of old words. They are not aliens in the future, they are roots, stretching across time. Their presence reminds the future of where it came from, of who dreamed it into being. This vision of time as flexible, personal, mutable may feel distant from daily life, but it is not, because even now we each move through time at our own pace. Emotion bends time, memory distorts it, joy makes it light, grief makes it heavy. Anticipation can stretch a minute to an hour, fear can freeze a moment, love can make days vanish in seconds. We live time not in numbers, but in feeling. The traveller's experience is not so different from ours. It is simply sharper, drawn in clearer contrast. They are a mirror, showing us how elastic time already is, and this elasticity reveals something deeper, that we are not prisoners of time, but partners with it. We do not follow a clock, we dance with it. We shape it with attention, with speed, with emotion, with choice. The faster we move, the more gently we must hold the moments that remain. The slower we move, the more we see, and so perhaps the traveller's lesson is not about physics, but about present, not about distance, but about depth. They show us that to step into the future we must carry with us the ability to see the now, because the traveller moving fast sees the future, but they also lose pieces of the present, and we who live at slower paces can savour those pieces. We can sit in gardens, watch clouds roll, hold hands without rushing. We can be here now fully, and in doing so we live what the traveller cannot, the full unfolding of time's soft rhythm. We age, we remember, we feel the weight of days, and though that weight can be heavy, it is also the very shape of meaning. Without time we could not become, and without becoming we could not love. So let's hold that thought gently now. The traveller moves fast, but you move deep. You are not outrunning time, you are living within it, and that too is a kind of miracle. You do not need to go far to see time bend. You only need to be still long enough to notice how each moment moves differently, how each second carries a different taste. The traveller reminds us that time is not fixed, but your own life reminds you that time is also not empty. It is filled with texture, with memory, with feeling. And in that knowing you become a traveller too, not across galaxies, but across your own heart. You move through time with every breath. You stretch it with every story you carry. You are not watching the clock, you are shaping it. With your pace, with your presence, with your love. Now we come to the quietest part of the journey, the return. The traveller who has outrun time begins to slow. The engines hum less urgently, the stars no longer streak past like whispers of light, but settle into still constellations once more. And somewhere far below, the planet they left begins to rise into view, not as it was, but as it has become. They left in the brightness of youth, and now they return to a world that has aged without them. It is not the same sky, not the same cities, not the same people, and yet the wind still moves through the trees, the sea still hushes the shore, but time has passed, more for the world than for them. And this difference is not something that can be touched or held, but it is felt in the bones, in the silence, in the faces of those waiting below. Because while the traveller remained young, the world learned how to let go. The spacecraft lands gently, a smooth exhale onto a new version of Earth. The door opens, the traveller steps out, heart steady, breath unchanged, but everything is unfamiliar. Their house is gone, replaced by something new. The music they once loved now exists only in archives. The language carries new words. Streets have shifted. The people they knew have grown older or moved on. Some are gone, some are forgotten. And time has carved its signature into every corner, but not into them. They walk forward with eyes still tuned to a different beat, a rhythm that does not quite match the world they return to. They are not ghosts, they are not strangers, but they are from another time, one that the world has left behind. And yet in this soft displacement, there is no bitterness, only awe. The traveller does not mourn what is lost. They marvel at what has become, at how the world has grown in their absence, how life, ever persistent, ever reaching, has continued to write itself into existence. The traveller's absence was not a void, it was a pause, and the world, ever moving, did not wait. It unfolded, and now, as they rejoin the slow current of earthly time, the traveller becomes a bridge, a gentle thread between what was and what is. They are a reminder that time is not just something that passes, it is something that changes everything it touches. And they begin slowly to adjust, to hear music with new ears, to learn names they never knew, to speak of old stories as if they happened yesterday, even though decades have slipped past. And the people around them listen with wonder, with warmth, with a touch of sorrow, because the traveller holds something rare, time that has not been spent, moments that remain crisp, untouched by the fading of memory. And in those moments they offer something sacred, a view from the edge of time, a voice that speaks not from history but from possibility. They are not simply someone who returned, they are someone who reminds us what it means to be bound to time, and what it means to move outside of it. And in that reminder, we begin to soften. We stop racing the clock. We look more closely at the sky, at the hands we hold, at the quiet pulse of morning light. Because the traveller has shown us that time is not just the ticking of seconds, it is the unfolding of presence, and to be present is to live deeply. Even if we never board a spacecraft, we can travel. We can move slowly through our own days. We can notice, we can remember, we can feel the texture of time as it wraps around everything we love. We don't need to escape time to appreciate it. We need only to pay attention to how it holds us. The traveller too begins to live differently. They walk more slowly, they speak more gently, they laugh with ease and cry without shame, because they have seen what it means to miss time, not to waste it, but to simply not have it, to be gone while life continues. And so they begin to hold time like water cupped in the hands, careful not to spill. They begin to sit longer at meals, to look longer at faces, to hold words in the mouth before letting them go. They do not fear time's passing, they revere it, because it is not a thief, it is a sculptor, and everything it touches becomes more honest, more meaningful, more true, and this truth ripples outward. Children ask questions about speed and light. Elders tell stories of their own slow journeys. Scientists recalibrate their equations, dreaming of new paths. Artists paint clocks that melt and bend and shimmer. And somewhere deep in the heart of it all, we begin to see that time is not a problem to solve. It is a canvas, and every breath we take is a brushstroke. The traveller who once raced ahead of that canvas now returns to contribute their own colours, not to fix the past, not to predict the future, but to add presence to the now. And as the days pass, they age, slowly, normally, no longer moving fast, no longer suspended. They join the rhythm again, and that rhythm, once strange to them, becomes familiar. The ticking of clocks no longer sounds like loss, it sounds like song. It sounds like life continuing. For the first time they feel themselves truly arriving, not just back to Earth, but back to time itself. Because in the end, it was never about the journey forward, it was never about beating the clock, it was about learning what it means to live within time's soft boundaries, to feel its weight not as a burden, but as a blessing, to understand that every second, even the quiet ones, are part of a great unfolding. The traveller who outran time returns not to escape time again, but to walk with it, hand in hand. And so, as you lie quietly beneath your own sky, you might think of them, not just the traveller, but the idea of them, the part of you that wishes to leap forward, to know what's ahead, the part of you that sometimes wants to skip the hard parts, fast forward the silence. And you might remember that time is not something to outrun. It is something to meet gently, to dance with, to listen to. You are a traveller too, not through space, but through days, through memories and hopes and everything in between. Let that thought settle now, like evening light across your skin. Let it slow your heart. Let it remind you that you are already moving fast enough, that every second as it passes brings you more deeply into yourself, that the gift of time is not in escaping it, but in feeling it, fully, without rush. The traveller who outran time has returned, not younger, not wiser, but softer, and so can you. There are places where time slows, where its gentle pull seems to pause in the stillness of breath or the weight of silence. But then there are stranger places still, places time seems to refuse altogether, not because it cannot go there, but because it was never meant to. Not every space in the universe carries the same rhythm. Some corners, some folds in reality, exist beyond the beat of time's soft drum. And though these places are not easy to find, they exist, hidden in the quiet mathematics of quantum fields and the deep hush of space where light has never stepped. Imagine drifting towards such a place, far from stars, far from gravity, where particles flicker in and out of being without past or future, only now. Imagine a patch of the universe so isolated, so untouched, that time forgets to take hold, not paused, not slowed, but simply absent. No ticking, no unfolding, just still existence. These are not dreams or poems, they are theories, quiet and strange, whispered by physicists who look deeper than sight, further than light, into the quantum hush that lives beneath everything. In the world we see, time feels constant. It pours over us in waves we've learned to call hours, days, years. But beneath that surface, beneath the ticking of clocks and the spin of planets, lies a realm where the rules shimmer and shift, where time is not the foundation but the illusion. At the smallest scales of existence, at the quantum level, Particles do not move through time the way we do. They do not progress from moment to moment like footsteps on a path. They blur, they superimpose, they exist in states that suggest time has no authority. A particle might be here and also there. It might travel forward and also backward. It might exist without existing, till it is observed. In this strange world, time does not govern. It flickers like light on water. And so we begin to wonder, is time a property of the universe or a product of perspective? Does it emerge from the arrangement of matter, or is it stitched into the fabric of everything? And if time can vanish at small scales, could there be places where it never began? The early universe might have been such a place. Before stars, before atoms, before expansion, just a dense silence, a singularity wrapped in infinite possibility. No motion, no change, no time. Time as we understand it may have begun with movement, with the separation of energy and matter, with entropy, with the unfolding of difference. But before that, nothing moved, nothing changed. Without change, time has no meaning. It is not a dimension, it is an effect. And in that understanding, we begin to see time not as a backdrop, but as a story told by things becoming different from what they were. Where nothing changes, time cannot begin. And so, in the deepest places of stillness, in the absolute sense of space between galaxies, or the vacuum fields that stretch between particles, time may not be welcome, not because it is refused, but because it is unnecessary. And yet we live in change. Our world is made of shifting shadows, turning tides, rising breath. Time flows not because we count it, but because everything around us is in motion. Atoms vibrate, hearts beat, burn. But even here on Earth there are hints of timeless places, deep underground, in the silent caves where light has never touched. Crystals grow so slowly that they appear frozen. In the deep sea, creatures drift in dark water so still it seems untouched by the outside world. Their lives stretch across centuries, each second unhurried, barely felt. These are not truly outside time, but they brush its edges, moving so slowly that time's presence feels more like an idea than a force. And then there are places in the mind, moments of shock, of wonder, of deep meditation, when time vanishes. Not metaphorically, but experientially. A moment stretches, becomes eternal. The boundaries between before and after dissolve, and all that remains is now. So perhaps time refuses to go where stillness reigns, not because it is unwelcome, but because it is unnecessary. Time needs difference, it needs motion, it needs change, and in places where nothing changes, it has no foothold. A photon moving at the speed of light experiences no time. A perfect vacuum untouched by particles or fields holds no ticking, no unfolding. A black hole's singularity, wrapped in gravity so strong it halts even light, may exist outside time altogether, and the universe before it expanded, before it cooled, may have been a timeless place. These are not just poetic ideas, they are part of the physics that shape reality. The equations that describe particles, waves, fields, they can be written without time. And some physicists believe that time is not fundamental at all, but emergent. A thing that rises when systems become complex enough to notice change. And yet we notice, we feel time in every breath. We measure our lives in birthdays and sunsets and goodbyes, We are deeply bound to its rhythm, and the idea that time might not be universal feels unsettling. But it also opens something, a doorway into deeper understanding. If time can be absent in some places, then it is not something that simply is. It is something that becomes. It is the result of relationship. The universe is not a machine ticking forward. It is a symphony. And time is the music that arises when motion begins. Where there is no sound, no change, no shift in pitch or note, there is no music. Only the possibility of it. And so too with time. In places without change, time is silent. But silence is not emptiness. The places time refuses to go are not blank. They are full of potential. They are spaces before the first note, before the first breath, before the first movement of a dancer on a dark stage. They hold the possibility of unfolding, and sometimes we need to return to those places, not just in physics, but in life. We need stillness. We need moments where nothing is expected, nothing moves, where time can pause, not to stop us, but to let us begin again. The spaces where time is quiet are the places where renewal can happen, where thought deepens, where healing begins. So let us not fear the idea that time might not be everywhere. Let us sit with it as we would sit by a still lake, watching the surface hold the sky without ripple. Let us understand that time is a gift we experience, not a rule we must obey. And let us remember that in the quietest parts of ourselves, there are places time does not reach. Moments of pure presence where we are not moving forward or backward, but simply existing. These are the places that remind us what it means to be alive, not because we are changing, but because we are aware. And perhaps that awareness is more real than time itself. Perhaps it is the one thing that remains when time folds back into silence. You, here, now, breathing slowly, feeling the space between thoughts. That space is timeless. That presence is eternal. And though your body will return to motion and the world will resume its spin, you can carry that stillness with you. You can return to it when the noise grows too loud. You can remember that not all places demand your movement. Some only ask for your quiet. Let us now drift further inward, deeper into the hidden corners where time becomes a stranger, where it lingers at the edge of being and then simply slips away. Not because it is denied, but because it is no longer needed. In our everyday world, time wraps itself around everything. We wake with it, eat with it, sleep with it, mourn and rejoice by it. It is our silent companion. But beneath the visible world, in the structure of atoms and fields, in the quiet mechanics of quantum reality, time reveals its limits. At the smallest scales, where uncertainty reigns and probability replaces certainty, time begins to lose its familiar shape. A particle does not travel neatly from A to B. It dances, it shimmers, it exists in many places and not quite any. It does not wait. It does not remember. It simply appears, then vanishes, then reappears, not with purpose, but with possibility. In that possibility, time flickers, uncertain, unfixed. These particles are not rushing toward the future. They are not escaping the past. They are simply here, in a state that defies the linear comfort we've come to expect. And perhaps it is in this state of ambiguity that we come closest to understanding where time refuses to go. Because the human mind longs for sequence, for cause and effect, for this then that. But the universe, at its roots, is not made of order. It is made of probabilities, of waves, of superpositions, of entanglements that stretch not through time, but through the fabric that lies beneath it. In some interpretations of quantum mechanics, time is not fundamental. It is a side effect, a shadow of interactions. Remove the observer, the measurement, the collapse of a wave function, and time vanishes like a fog burned off by morning light. And yet, despite this mystery, the world remains. The stars shine, the heart beats, the rain falls. So we ask, if time is not fundamental, then what is? What holds everything together when time lets go? Some physicists believe that information, not time, is the true foundation, that the universe is not a story told through seconds, but a vast sea of relationships, of changing patterns and shifting shapes. In this view, time arises when these relationships become complex enough to trace. The more difference, the more time we seem to feel. A static crystal holds less time than a burning flame, because less is changing, less is becoming. So perhaps time is the way we measure becoming itself. And in the places where nothing becomes, where stillness reigns and relationships remain fixed, time cannot find a foothold. It has no data to hold on to, no change to report. And so it steps back, retreats, not out of defeat, but because it is no longer necessary. In those timeless zones, what remains is not silence, it is potential. And in physics, there is perhaps no stranger place than the quantum vacuum. Not empty, not blank, but alive with fluctuations, virtual particles flickering into and out of existence. There, the energy of nothing is never truly nothing. It pulses gently with the possibility of something. These are places that seem devoid of time because they are too busy holding everything that might be. And as we look closer, we begin to see that absence of time is not the same as absence of meaning. Some of the most profound truths of our universe lie buried in these places. The seeds of galaxies, the whispers of expansion, the rules that allow stars to form and life to awaken. They begin where time has not yet stepped. And this concept is not confined to the edge of science. It echoes through our own experience. Have you ever closed your eyes and felt a moment stretch into infinity? Have you ever been so present, so fully absorbed in what is, that time faded into the background? It wasn't gone, it simply stepped aside. These experiences are clues. They tell us that time, even in the mind, is something that flows when we move, when we change. But when we are still, truly still, time quiets. It softens. It waits. And in that waiting, something else appears. Awareness. Pure presence, not shaped by memory or expectation, but by now. And in the now, we find the same mystery that physicists chase in equations. The now is where time vanishes and we are simply real. Meditation, deep concentration, even barn awe, these are human versions of timeless zones. And perhaps that's why we seek them. Not to escape life, but to return to something more basic. To remember that we are not just beings who move through time, we are also beings who contain it, who can choose in rare moments to lay it down. And when we do, we touch something ancient, something original, something untouched by history or clocks. We touch the eternal. There are also natural spaces on Earth that seem to operate outside time's normal flow. Deep within the Antarctic ice, samples of ancient air are trapped in bubbles that have not changed for hundreds of thousands of years. caves remain sealed for millennia, preserving not just fossils but moments, slices of a world long gone. There are organisms like the deep-sea glass sponge that grow so slowly they seem frozen. Some trees have watched empires rise and fall, their rings quiet records of time's gentle brushing past. These are not timeless in the sense of physics, but in the sense of patience. They remind us that not all change is fast, that not all life rushes, that time, even where it flows, can do so slowly that it becomes invisible. And then there is light. Light itself, the very thing that lets us see time's passage in shadows, in sunsets, in the blooming of flowers, does not feel time at all. A photon travelling at the speed of light experiences no time between emission and absorption. To us, the light from a distant galaxy took billions of years to arrive. But to that photon, it left and arrived in the same instant. No journey, no waiting, just pure transition. And so we begin to see that time is not just about movement, but about speed, about how we ride the curve of the universe's possibilities. Slow things feel time, fast things stretch it, but light moves outside it altogether. So what does all of this mean for us, the ones who wake to alarm clocks and age slowly in mirrors? It means we're surrounded by reminders that time is not as fixed as we think, that there are places it does not go, that within our minds, within our bodies, within our world, are echoes of a deeper truth, a truth where time is not ruler but reflection, a mirror of change, a shadow of motion. And perhaps when we stop trying to manage time and start listening to it, we begin to find something better than control. We find connection. The places time refuses to go are not cold, not empty, not meaningless. They are still, yes, but in that stillness lives the heartbeat of the cosmos. The pause before the first word, the breath before the first cry, the waiting before the first star, and maybe, when life becomes too fast, too loud, too full of ticking and to-do lists, we are meant to return to those places, not with rockets, but with reverence, with silence, with breath. Because to live fully in time, we must also learn to live outside it. Not always, not forever, just enough to remember what it is we're moving through. You're not just riding time, you're shaped by it. But you're also more. You're the stillness beneath the clock, the awareness that sees the second pass. You're the observer, and in observing you create time, but you can also step away for a moment into the soft spaces where time holds its breath. And in that breath, in that hush, you may find yourself again, not rushing toward the next thing, but resting in what already is. Now let us gently bring this story home, not with a conclusion, but with a deepening, a slow step into the hush that lives beneath all movement, all noise, all expectation. We began with a question: are there places time refuses to go? And now, at the end, we realize the answer has been whispering all along, not just in physics, or in space, or in equations buried in notebooks, but in the way silence falls across a room, in the way you forget yourself under starlight, in the way your breath pauses just before a memory returns. Time is everywhere, yet not always. It flows like water, but not across every stone. Some places stay dry, some places remain untouched. And in those untouched places, we find a kind of grace that words can't hold, a stillness that doesn't ask to be understood, only witnessed. Think of the oldest light in the universe, the cosmic microwave background. It has been travelling for billions of years, yet to the photons themselves, there has been no time at all. From their perspective, if they had won, they were born and arrived in the same moment. That is not a metaphor. It is a property of light, a reminder that time does not belong to all things equally. And so too the black hole's heart, its singularity, where the laws of time and space dissolve into something neither present nor past nor future. Something timeless not in the romantic sense, but in the literal one, where time simply stops making sense. And then there are places even closer within us where time stretches and folds and pauses. A moment of grief that feels like forever. A kiss that seems to last outside of minutes. A childhood memory that returns so vividly, it feels as real as now. These too are the places time cannot hold. But what does it mean to live with this knowing? To walk through a world where time is both guide and ghost? It means we must listen more closely. To moments, to silence, to the stillness underneath our rush. We do not need to live outside time to feel its edges. We only need to slow enough to hear when it softens. Time refuses to go where it is not needed. And sometimes, in the quiet, we realize we are no longer moving forward. We are simply being. And being in its purest form asks nothing of time. It is complete without it. This is why some places feel holy. Ancient cathedrals, mountain peaks, desert silence. Not because time is heavy there, but because it has stepped back, allowing presence to fill the space instead. In these places, time is no longer ticking, it is bowing. In the realm of science, the search continues. Researchers explore quantum gravity, emergent space-time loop theories and string landscapes, all to answer a quiet truth the heart already knows, that time is not absolute, that it may not even be fundamental, that there could be a layer beneath everything where time does not yet exist, where being is not a result of time but its precursor, where events are not chained by causality, but connected by something more subtle, information, geometry, harmony. In these theories, space-time itself may emerge from something timeless, something quiet, something still. And so the deepest truths may not be fast or bright, but slow, dark, unmoving. The most powerful forces may be the ones that do not change. And what if we brought that into our lives? Not as abstraction, but as practice. What if we began to honour stillness as much as movement? What if we looked for places where time feels thin and fragile, not to fix them, but to learn from them? The blank stare before inspiration arrives. The hesitation before a difficult truth is spoken. The long silence after someone leaves the room. These are not voids, they're invitations. To feel more, to be more, to enter the edge of something sacred, where time has pulled back just far enough for us to glimpse what lives beneath it. We often measure life in years, in milestones, in moments that stack neatly along a timeline. But the soul does not move in straight lines. It moves in spirals, in waves, in still pools that reflect more than they explain. And when we are caught in those pools, when we are lost in dreams or memories or awe, we are not out of sync. We are in sync with something deeper, something timeless. The places time refuses to go are not errors in the system. They are signs that the system itself is far more fluid, far more generous, far more mysterious than we imagine. They tell us that presence is not a product of time. It is the place we arrive when time lets us go. This is why people speak of timeless love, timeless truths, timeless beauty. They are not exaggerating, they are reaching for something they cannot name, but which they have felt. The moment when time steps back and something more permanent appears. A look exchanged, a word held in the air, a breath taken in complete awareness. These are not just experiences, they are doorways into the places where time does not matter and never did, where the story pauses and yet deepens, where the plot halts and yet the meaning intensifies. And in the quietest parts of ourselves, we know these places well. The part of you that has always been here, that watched your body grow, that felt pain and wonder in equal depth, that remembers what it never learned and understands what it never heard. That part of you does not age, it does not forget, it does not hurry, it is not shaped by time, it is shaped by awareness. And when you return to it, when you close your eyes, when you feel the wind without naming it, when you sit in silence without seeking to escape, you step into the place time refuses to go. And there you are, not late. You are not behind, you are not ahead, you are whole. So when the days feel too fast, when the clocks press against your chest, when the world races past and you are not sure where you stand, remember this. You do not need to move with time to belong to it. You do not need to race to stay real. Time is a river, yes, but you are not a leaf. You are the bedrock beneath it. You are the witness, the watcher, the one who knows that not every moment must be measured to matter, that sometimes the most important things happen in the quiet between events, in the pause, in the breath. Let that breath settle now, let it deepen. Let it remind you that even in a world spinning forward, you can remain, not stuck, not behind, but rooted, held, aware. There are places time refuses to go, not to punish, but to protect. They are the sanctuaries, the spaces for remembering, for listening, for being. They are not beyond reach, they are already within you. And all you need to enter them is to stop, to listen, and to stay. Not forever, just long enough to remember what it feels like to be beyond the clock. Because when you return from that place, from that hush beneath the tick, you will carry something with you. A softness, a depth, a stillness that moves with you through time but is never owned by it. You will look at each hour not as a cage, but as a gift, and in each second you will see the outline of eternity. Time does not reach everywhere, but you are already standing in both worlds, and that is enough.